Imagine loving basketball with all your heart, but being told you can't play in the best league just because of your skin color. This was the reality for African American NBA players decades ago. And in the early days of the NBA, African American players were not allowed to play at all. But over time, things changed. In this video, we will explore the secret rise of African American NBA players from a time of exclusion to a time of dominance on the court. As you may know, in today's day and age, most of the NBA, actually about 70% of the NBA is African American, and that didn't happen overnight. It took many decades of hard work, talent, and courage. We will learn about the pioneers who broke barriers in 1950, the legends who became champions, and how these players also made a difference off the court. This story will cover heroes like Earl Lloyd, Bill Russell, Will Chamberlain, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, Magic Johnson, Michael Jordan, Kobe Bryant, LeBron James, and more. We will see how they not only won games and titles, but also inspired change in society. So get ready for an inspiring journey, because this is the story of how African American NBA players went from being shut out of the NBA to becoming the faces of a league. It's a tale of perseverance and told in simple language so everyone can follow along. Let's jump into the history and meet the players who changed basketball forever. Disclaimer: this video is not meant to promote any racism, and rather it is to educate the people who want to know the full story. Enjoy the video. In the 1940s, when the NBA was just starting, America was still segregated. Segregation means keeping black and white people apart in schools, restaurants, and even sports. Back then, professional basketball teams had only white players. African Americans loved basketball too, but they had to play in separate leagues. For example, there were famous all-black teams like the Harlem Globetrotters and New York Rens that showed off incredible skills, but they were not in the NBA. The NBA was founded in 1946, but for a few years, no black player was on an NBA team. It was almost like an unwritten rule. Team owners just didn't sign black players. It wasn't because black players lacked talent. It was because of prejudice. This was pretty similar to how baseball had a color barrier before Jackie Robinson, but in basketball, the barrier wasn't broken until 1950. It took brave players and forward-thinking coaches to finally change the rules and attitudes. However, there was a small crack in the door even before 1950. In the year of 1947, there was a Japanese-American player who became the first non-white player in the Basketball Association of America, which later became the NBA. This player's debut showed that fans and players could accept diversity, but no African American had played yet. The stage was set by the end of the 1940s, and the NBA needed someone to break the black color barrier. The opportunity came in 1950, a year that will make history for basketball and civil rights. 1950 is a special year in NBA history. That year, the NBA welcomed its first African American players. 3 pioneers stepped forward, each achieving a first. The first black player ever drafted by an NBA team on April 25th, 1950, the Boston Celtics selected Chuck Cooper in the draft. Celtics owner Walter Brown reportedly said he didn't care if Cooper was striped, played, or polka dot. Quote, he just wanted a good player. Cooper joining the Celtics was a huge step. The second player was Nat Clifton, the first black player to sign an NBA contract. Clifton signed with the New York Knicks in 1950 and had played for the Harlem Globetrotters before. He was a strong rebounder and even became an all-star in 1956. Fans loved his nickname Sweetwater, which he got because he loved soft drinks as a child. And the third player is Earl Lloyd, the first black player to actually play in an NBA game. Earl Lloyd made his debut on October 31st, 1950 for the Washington Capitals, becoming the first African American to play in an NBA game when he stepped on the court that night. He was the one that opened the door that many others would walk through. These 3 men, Cooper, Clifton, and Lloyd, broke the NBA's color barrier together in the 1950-51 season. They were proud, but also knew they carried a big responsibility. Unlike Jackie Robinson in baseball, who was alone in 1947, these basketball players had each other for support. Even so, their journey was not easy. Earl Lloyd said his experience wasn't as rough as Robinson's because basketball fans had seen integrated college teams, but he still faced racism in some cities. When Earl Lloyd played, some hotels refused to let him eat in the dining room because he was black. In one instance in Indiana, he was allowed to sleep in the hotel but not eat in the restaurant. His coach, Horace McKinney, joined him in his room so they they could eat together away from the restaurant. That act of kindness showed Lloyd that at least his team saw him as an important member. It meant a lot to have supportive teammates and coaches because not everyone was welcoming. And once the door was open, more African American players began to join the NBA. By the late 1950s and 60s, many of the league's best players were black. However, there were still challenges. It was believed that in the early 1960s, the NBA had an unofficial quota, a limit of about 4 black players per team. This wasn't a written rule, but many teams seemed hesitant to have too many black players at once. Even so, talent could not be denied, and black stars started to shine. One of the absolute first great African American NBA stars was Bill Russell. He joined the Boston Celtics in 1956 and quickly changed the game. He was a tall defensive genius who would block shots and grab rebounds like nobody else. Bill Russell led the Celtics to the NBA championship in 1957, becoming one of the first black superstars to win a title. That was just the beginning. Russell would go on to win 11 NBA championships in 13 years, the most championships any player has ever won. He also won 5 MVP awards in his career. This made him not just a great black player, but one of the greatest players ever, period. In fact, Bill Russell became the first African American to be named the MVP in 1958. Fans in Boston loved him for making their team nearly unbeatable, but on the road, he still dealt with racism. Sometimes opposing fans heckled him or worse, but Russell stayed focused on winning. He was known for his determination and his team-first attitude. He didn't score as much as some other stars, but he did everything else: defense, rebounding, and leading his teammates. Russell showed that a black player could be the heart and soul of a championship team. Around the same time, another giant of the game arrived: Wilt Chamberlain. Wilt was an offensive powerhouse who entered the NBA in 1959. He stood about 7 feet 1 inch tall and used his height and athleticism to dominate. In 1962, Wilt Chamberlain did something that sounds like a fairy tale. He scored 100 points in a single NBA game. No one has ever scored more points than that in one game, before or since. That season, Wilt averaged an unbelievable 50 points per game, which is also a record. He was so dominant that the league literally changed some rules to make it a bit harder for him to score. Wilt won 4 MVP awards and 2 championships in his career, proving he was more than just big stats. The rivalry between Bill Russell and Wilt Chamberlain in the 1960s was legendary. Russell's Celtics and Wilt's teams clashed many times. Russell usually had the better team and won more championships, but their battles were epic. Russell, the ultimate defender, versus Wilt, the ultimate scorer. This rivalry, featuring 2 African American superstars, helped raise the NBA's popularity. Fans would pack arenas to see Russell's rebounding and defense go up against Wilt's scoring and slam dunks. But besides those 2 players, the 1960s had other black stars too. One of them being Oscar Robertson, who was a guard who averaged a triple-double for an entire season in 1961, something almost unheard of until many years later. He was a do-it-all playmaker and won the MVP award in 1964. And by that year, an important milestone was reached. For the first time, an NBA team started 5 black players in a game. This historic lineup was the Boston Celtics on December 26, 1964. Coach Red Auerbach sent out a starting 5 of Bill Russell, Casey Jones, Sam Jones, Tom Sanders, and Willie Knowles, all of whom were African American. And guess what? They won that game and then 11 more in a row. This proved that having an all-black lineup was not only okay, but it was a recipe for success. Also, fun fact, in 1966, after Celtics coach Red Auerbach retired, Bill Russell himself became the coach while still playing. When he took the job, Bill Russell became the first black head coach in NBA history. As the years went on, African American players became more outspoken, and by the 1970s, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar had emerged as a star on the court and a voice off the court. Kareem was born Ferdinand Lewis Alcindor Jr. He dominated college basketball at UCLA and entered the NBA in 1969 with the Milwaukee Bucks. In 1971, he led the Bucks to a championship in just his second season, along Oscar Robertson, and was named Finals MVP. That same year, he made a personal change. He converted to Islam and started going by the name Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. Not everyone understood or liked this change at the time, but Kareem felt it was important for his identity. Kareem was also socially conscious. Even in college, he boycotted the 1968 Olympics by not playing for Team USA as a protest against how African Americans were treated in the US. And in the 1970s, as more black players filled the league, they also began influencing the culture around the game. The style of play became faster and more above the rim, thanks largely to a black player's flair and athletic ability. Dunks and flashy passes thrilled crowds. Even the ABA, which was a rival league that merged with the NBA in 1976, featured artistic dunkers like Julius Dr. J. Irving, who inspired the NBA's playing style, and this culture cultural shift made basketball more exciting for fans of all races. By the late 1970s, the NBA had many black superstars, but the league itself struggled with image and popularity on TV. That changed in the 1980s, thanks in part to the rivalry of Magic Johnson and Larry Bird. Magic Johnson, a 6'9" point guard from Michigan, was an electrifying African-American player who led the Los Angeles Lakers. Larry Bird, a white star from Indiana, led the Boston Celtics. Their rivalry, starting from a famous college championship game in 1979 and then carried into the NBA Finals of the 1980s, captivated the country. It was sometimes portrayed as black versus white, but more importantly, it was two amazing players lifting the NBA's profile together. Magic Johnson's smile, flashy passes, and joyful style of play made him one of the most popular athletes ever. He helped the Lakers win 5 NBA championships in the 1980s, and he also won 3 MVP awards in his career. Magic was not just a basketball player, he became an ambassador for the sport. He and Bird together showed that fans just love great basketball, no matter the race of the players. The NBA's audience grew, and by the end of the 80s, a majority of the league's players and almost all its biggest stars were African American. But we all know this era of the late 1980s and 1990s. This is where we saw the rise of perhaps the most famous basketball player of all time, Michael Jordan. Jordan, an African American superstar from North Carolina, took the NBA to new heights of global popularity. If Magic and Bird revived the NBA in the 80s, Michael Jordan launched it into a worldwide phenomenon in the 90s. Michael Jordan played 15 seasons, mostly with the Chicago Bulls, and won 6 NBA championships in the 1990s. He led the Bulls to 2 sets of three-peats, and he also won 5 MVP awards during his career. But numbers alone don't capture Jordan's impact. He was an incredible athlete, known for leaping through the air for slam dunks, earning nicknames like Air Jordan. He hit clutch shots, including the famous championship-winning buzzer beater in 1998. His talent and charisma made him wildly popular. Jordan was an athlete like no one else. He created the most popular shoe brand of all time, except for Nike, but he is basically part of Nike. He was part of the 1992 Olympic Dream Team. He was starred in commercials and even a hit movie called Space Jam, and he was known as arguably the best player of all time. But after Jordan's era, many wondered who would be the next great star. It turned out there wouldn't be just one, but several amazing African American players who carried the torch in the 2000s and 2010s. The league was now predominantly black, with around 4 out of 5 players being African American by the 2000s. Black culture and style were deeply woven into the fabric of the NBA, and from the way players dressed arriving to games to the music played in arenas, basketball and hip-hop culture rose together, and NBA players became trendsetters. One of the first big stars post-Jordan was Kobe Bryant. Kobe joined the Los Angeles Lakers in 1996 straight out of high school. He idolized Michael Jordan and eventually built a legacy of his own. Kobe Bryant, a black superstar who spoke multiple languages and had a tireless work ethic, won 5 NBA championships with the Lakers. He was a scoring machine, once dropping 81 points in a single game in 2006, which is the second highest ever behind Wilt's 100. Kobe was known for his Mamba mentality, a fierce never give up attitude, and he inspired a generation of young players to work harder and strive for greatness. And he also ventured into creative projects, even winning an Academy Award for an animated short film called Dear Basketball in 2018. Tragically, Kobe Bryant and his daughter did pass away in 2020 due to a helicopter crash, RIP, and this news shocked the world. Literally, everybody remembered where they were when they heard the news. This was a really sad time in NBA culture, and Kobe Bryant gained a lot of new fans. But after that era, another defining player of the 2000s and 2010s is LeBron James. LeBron came into the NBA in 2003 straight from high school, hailed as the chosen one. He had enormous expectations and somehow exceeded them. LeBron James is a 6'8" forward with a unique combination of strength, speed, and basketball IQ. Over his career, LeBron has won 4 NBA championships and 4 MVP awards. He led 3 different franchises to titles, which no superstar had done before. LeBron's statistics are mind-blowing. In 2023, he passed Kareem Abdul-Jabbar to become the NBA's all-time leading scorer, scoring more points than anyone in history. He's also among the all-time leaders in assists and steals, showing his all-around game. But perhaps what sets LeBron apart the most is his influence off the court in modern times. LeBron James is a global icon, and everybody recognizes him as that. And it's not just LeBron. Other star players like Stephen Curry, Kevin Durant, and Chris Paul also use their voices and run foundations to impact communities. The majority of NBA players being black also means they often stand united on issues that affect the black community. The NBA today is often seen as a progressive league because of how its players speak out and because of the diversity and unity they display. Additionally, the journey journey of African American players in the NBA over the past 50 plus years is a powerful story of triumph over adversity. It started with exclusion and doubt, but it became a story of excellence and leadership. Today's NBA is enriched by the skill and flair of black players, something early fans in the 1950s might not have imagined. When we see players like LeBron James soar for a dunk or Stephen Curry hit a deep three-pointer, we are enjoying a game that African American athletes helped elevate. The NBA has become what Hall of Famer Larry Bird once said, a black man's game, and it will be forever. I mean, the greatest athletes in the world are African American. Larry Bird, who is fully white, meant it as a compliment to the talent and athleticism that black players bring. African American players took a sport and infused it with a determination, creativity, and style, making basketball one of the most popular sports in the world. But in the end, the rise of African American players is a story of talent meeting opportunity and blossoming. This secret rise isn't so secret anymore, and it's written in the record books, shown in highlight reels, and felt in the hearts of fans. African American players have risen to the top of the basketball world, and their journey can inspire all of us to overcome challenges and trace our dreams. If you guys enjoyed the video, don't forget to drop a like and subscribe, please. YouTube thinks you're gonna like the video that's gonna pop up, so trust me, click on it. Thank you for watching and have a great rest of your day. Please like and subscribe. Bye.